What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my video. Hope y'all are having an amazing day as usual. If you are new, please make sure to like, subscribe, and always comment down below. It really helps out with the videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 worst neighborhoods in New York City. And I did a list a few years ago, but this is going to be a more updated version of that because New York City is always changing. So we're going to be looking at neighborhoods with high crime rates, high poverty, but it's more than just that. New York City is very expensive. There's a large homeless and migrant issue there. And of course, there are a lot of housing projects. And most of New York City's crime is focused in the housing projects. As long as you don't make eye contact with the mentally ill or go into the projects at night, in most places in New York City, even in the most dangerous areas, you should be okay. Now, don't jinx that, but for the most part, New York City is pretty safe, despite what you hear on the news. So today we're going to look at the top 10 worst neighborhoods in New York City. Number 10, Mount Eden. Mount Eden is a neighborhood on the west side of the Bronx, bordered by the Concourse and the Cross Bronx Expressway. Now, a lot of neighborhoods along the Cross Bronx Expressway are pretty rough. This highway devastated the Bronx. Many people were relocated, and if you read up on the history of redlining and Robert Moses, it's pretty bad. Also, the Cross Bronx Expressway just sucks in general. The traffic is insane, but I feel like I had to clear that up. It's busy no matter what time of the day you're on it. The rate of assaults and robberies are very high in this neighborhood, but luckily the murder rate is below the national average, so that's good. The median household income is a low $40,000 per year, and education rates are low. This neighborhood just looks dirty. It's very crowded, hilly, and dangerous. Number 9, Queensbridge. Queensbridge is a housing project near Long Island City in Queens. This is such a large housing complex that is a neighborhood within itself. There are 96 apartment buildings and over 3,000 units. These apartments have a distinct design shaped like a Y, which was used to give residents more privacy and sunlight and was more cost-effective to build. The complex was built in the 30s and was mostly a white middle-class hood. By the 50s, many blacks and Latinos moved in, and many of the units were set aside for low-income minorities. The rate of crime and drug use is pretty high in this neighborhood, but it has calmed down in recent years. This is still nowhere you want to live, however. This is not the worst housing project in New York City, but all of the projects really should be avoided. And I feel safe almost anywhere in New York City, but the projects are not that. I'm always aware of my surroundings walking through the projects. Number 8, Spanish Harlem. AKA East Harlem, this is the only part of Harlem that is still really bad. Now, Sugar Hill gets an honorable mention, but Spanish Harlem is bigger. Spanish Harlem is really dangerous. The overall rate of assaults is 75% higher than the national average, and the murder rate is about average. However, the property crime rate is below the national average, but that's probably because there aren't too many valuable items to steal in this hood. That's because the median household income is $50,000. And while that doesn't sound too bad, remember, this is Manhattan, the most expensive place in the country. The worst part about East Harlem is the legendary 125th and Lexington. This area is abandoned and filled with dope fiends. You know this area is bad if McDonald's has to shut down. Yeah, that's not good. Also, if you're looking for Hispanic culture, don't even bother going here. You won't really find much. Go to the Bronx. It's much more lively. Number 7, East Flatbush. East Flatbush is a residential neighborhood smack in the middle of Brooklyn, bordered by Crown Heights and East New York, as well as Little Caribbean. This neighborhood is really dangerous, and the area is very dirty. There's also a serious lack of supermarkets and subway service in the area. Despite all of this, it's still a very expensive neighborhood. Now, if you're looking for a middle-class, quiet, residential area, it's not the worst option. And if you're looking for Jamaican, Haitian, or West Indian food, you're definitely in luck. There's restaurants on every corner here for that. Number 6, East New York. If you're looking for drugs, housing projects, being robbed, shot, or assaulted, then move to East New York. This Brooklyn neighborhood is in the top 5 for most dangerous neighborhoods in the entire city. Now, if you look at this place and you drive through it, it doesn't look that bad compared to some of the other areas. However, the median household income is below $53,000. Many of the people here are on public assistance, and people also complain that the residents in East New York are rude, and there really isn't a sense of community. On a positive note, East New York is home to the Gateway Center, one of the largest shopping malls in Brooklyn. Number 5, Tremont. Tremont is located along East Tremont Ave, smack in the middle of the Bronx. This is yet another rough neighborhood located along the Cross Bronx Expressway. Tremont has a murder rate that is 40% higher than the national average. The median household income here is a low $37,000 per year, which is way less than what we saw in East New York. There's no reason to go here. If you're going to go to the Central Bronx, go to the zoo or Crotona Park. This area is just ghetto. Number 4, Claremont. Claremont is located not too far away from Tremont, another neighborhood along the Cross Bronx Expressway. This South Bronx neighborhood has a median household income of $44,000 per year, but they really kick it up a notch in the violent crime category. The murder rate here is 102% higher than the national average, and the Morris houses are some of the most notorious housing projects in the city. Now, on a positive note, I know someone that owns a mechanic shop in the Claremont neighborhood called Freddie and Henry's on Webster Avenue. So if you need your car fixed, go to Claremont. If not, steer clear of this neighborhood. And if you're feeling really adventurous, there is some nightlife in this neighborhood. Go to Casa del Mar Seafood on Webster Ave. Number 3, the South Bronx. Now, when I say the South Bronx, I'm generally referring to the area around 3rd Ave and 149th Street, as well as Mott Haven. This area is also known as the hub for being a center for retail shopping, fast food chains, and local transit. If you are in this crowded, dirty, ghetto version of Times Square, I suggest you get on the subway or keep it moving. The median household income in the South Bronx is a low $30,000 per year, which is the lowest in the city. Now, the Mott Haven neighborhood is not terrible. There are some nice townhouses, but the Patterson houses are notorious for rats and a lack of hot water. The Mitchell houses are terrible as well. I know someone who used to live in the Mitchell houses, and he told me some terrible stories. Shootouts, bloodstains, fights, stolen cars. But he said that he just minded his business and somehow he made it out alive. Good for him. Number 2, Brownsville. Brownsville is located in Brooklyn, next to Crown Heights, East New York, and East Flatbush. 2 of these neighborhoods I've already mentioned in the video, making this whole part of Brooklyn a giant mess. Brownsville used to be the most dangerous neighborhood in New York City, but the crime rate has gone down in recent years. It's still bad, however. The median household income in Brownsville is $45,000 per year. The problem with this neighborhood is the projects. This neighborhood is home to the Brownsville houses, Langston Hughes homes, Van Dyke houses, Howard houses, and the Tilden houses. And all these housing projects have beef with one another. Having such a large concentration of projects is perfect if you want to wind up on a list of worst neighborhoods in New York City. However, I have noticed that there are a lot of nice people in this neighborhood, so that's always a good thing, especially for New York City where most people are rude. And number 1, Hunts Point. Hunts Point is a neighborhood located at the peninsula on the Bronx River in the South Bronx. This part industrial residential neighborhood takes the cake as the worst part of New York City. Now, it is home to one of the largest food distributors in the world, and also the highest crime rate in the city. Assaults, robberies, and theft are all well above the national average, and the scary part about Hunts Point is the fact that there is one way in and one way out. There are plenty of drag races, prostitution, bandos, and sketchy industrial areas. This is what New York City looked like in the 70s and 80s. Gentrification will happen one day, and we'll see what that brings for Hunts Point. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I'm actually about to start my night shift right now, so I got to upload this video probably on my break or something, but that's going to be for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. This video was not made to offend anyone, by the way. I know cancel culture can be pretty crazy, so you might want to cancel a white boy doing a video about the worst hoods in New York, but that is not the case. All right, I get involved in my community and try to help when I can. You should as well. I mean, if you live in these neighborhoods, you should try to help out whenever you can. So that's going to be today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and God bless all you guys.